So this is the about Google Classroom. So this classroom is dedicated to B section. You can find here the Google Meet link. Every time when you want to attend my class, just you can click on this link so that you can attend my class as per the timetable. And other things is I have already posted a textbook for you, Ben G Street one here, a soft copy of this. You can refer to this book. I will be covering most of the material, most of the details from this textbook itself. Apart from that, I will be posting you the video lectures and the notes and other materials, okay, assignments, and your internal assessment also will be conducted through the Google Classroom, similar to the last semester. Okay, so I hope everybody should enroll this into the Google Classroom via your official email ID. Don't use any unofficial email IDs. Better to use a BMSIT email ID for this Google Classroom enrollment. Second thing what I want to say here is regarding attendance. So in electronic device class, attendance will be taken through this Google form. You can see here this Google form is for attendance for today's date, and which I will be asking about your name, USN, section, and mobile number and college ID. If you enter all these details, default your attendance will be considered and marked into physical register and as well as our BIMS online attendance of BMSIT. Okay, so I suggest you to enter your details instead of writing your names in the chat box. I would suggest you to enter your details in this Google form. Every time in the beginning of the class, I will be sharing a link with you. So if this link will be open since yesterday and day before yesterday's class, I opened this link for 24 hours. But from today onwards, this link will be enabled only for during the period of this class. And once class gets over, this response will be disabled. Okay, so kindly enter your attendance on or before the completion of this class. That's about the attendance thing. And let's move on to the things what we have covered in the last class. So if you look at the things last class, we covered about program outcomes, and we introduced the details of the course, electronic devices, and the IA marks, semester and examination marks, and various other details we have covered in the last class. Today's class I will be talking about course outcomes. So course outcomes are nothing but course takeaways. At the end of the course, all of you will be able to understand the basics of semiconductor physics, fabrication techniques, I mean the diode fabrication, BJT fabrication techniques, and operation of the PN junction as well. And also we will be covering operation of BJT, field effect transistor, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. So this is course outcome 1, which we call shortly as CO1. Similarly, we have a CO2, course outcome 2. So students will be able to apply the knowledge of semiconductor physics. That means you already might have got the basic information, basic details on semiconductor physics in your 10+2. That knowledge you are going to apply the semiconductor physics knowledge to obtain the characteristics of PN junction, BJT, FET, and MOSFET. So this is course outcome 2. This in turn maps with program outcome 1, which we have discussed in the last class. Course outcome 3, which helps you to, which you will be able to analyze the characteristics of devices based on the different physical phenomena. So this is again mapped to program outcome 2 of NBA. Lastly, we have fourth course outcome, CO4. So student will be able to interpret the given case study material. In every test we give one case study material. So you will be able to interpret that case study material on semiconductor physics and answer the question asked in the internal assessment. So CO4 is very important because this maps to program outcome 10 and program outcome 12. Okay. So these are the program outcomes covered in electronic devices, and totally there are 4 course outcomes for electronic device course. Next we will see how this course outcomes is mapped with program outcomes. So on the left side you can see we have listed course outcome 1, 2, 3, 4. The statements are given here, but we have taken the columns, first column as all course outcomes, CO1 to CO4, where CII is the, in fact it's going to be the average, since there is no no mapping here, there is empty space here, so therefore the 3 is taken directly here. So here the mapping you can see as CO1 to PO1 we are given as 3. 3 means it is maximum. So we measure the mapping at levels 1, 2 and 3. If nothing is there means CO1 is not related to PO1. If there is a 3 mapping here, that means 100% CO2 is mapped with PO1. Okay, CO2 you already seen here, and the PO1 is nothing but engineering knowledge. So you will be able to gain engineering knowledge via this course outcome 2. So you are going to gain maximum knowledge via this course outcome 2. Therefore, it is mapped with 3. So 3 is the highest level, 2 is the moderate level, 1 is the lowest level. And if nothing you can see here, that means it's not mapped with corresponding program outcome. Similarly, the CO3 is nothing but mapped with moderate level with PO2. CO4 you can see here, it's mapped with PO10 with maximum level, PO11, PO12 with maximum, which is 3. So you can see here also there will be a 3 here, and there will be PO12 also will be 3. So these are the mapping between course outcome and program outcome. And when we do mapping here, we need to provide justification for that. Example is how exactly the CO2 is mapped with PO1. That's justified here. So students should go through this justification between the CO and the PO mapping. This sheet is called as a course design sheet, which I will be posting in the Google Classroom. Okay. So kindly go through this course outcome, CO, PO mapping and their justification. Further, we have the targets. As I told you that CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, highest level is 3. But our course, electronic device course, is just mapping with 1.8. That means it's more than average. You can achieve CO1. And CO2, via this course you can achieve 1.5. It's a moderate. CO3, it's a low. CO4, it's going to be again more than average. So these are the target levels which are able to achieve through electronic device course. Coming to assessment tools. So we have various assessment. Assessment is nothing but the measuring the performance of the student. So against each module we do different delivery methods, and we have different assessment methods. Following we have a course outcomes attained via this module. Finally, the tools used for assessment. Most of the tools which you can see here is via the internal test. Except few we cover up with quiz, blended learning and few other activities. Example you can see here, the semiconductor, the first module which we are covering through Chalk and Talk or online class, and this assessment method is going to be internal test. That means complete module we will be asking questions in the internal test, and students should answer that. If you are able to answer this and if your marks is very good, then that means you are able to attain CO1. Okay. So the assessment tool is internal test paper. Likewise, we have a PN junction, which is again online class via the PPT or Chalk and Talk, and assessment method is internal test, and this maps to CO1, 2, 3. Okay. And assessment tool is again first and second internal paper. That means part of the PN junction will be covered in second internal test as well, along with first internal test. So now itself you will get to know that what is the portion for the first internal test. So portion for first internal test will be semiconductor module, along with that part of PN junction will be included. Okay. Module 3 is bipolar junction transistor. Delivery method is again Chalk and Talk or PPT method. This is again covered through assessment method is internal test, and again CO1, 2, 3 are covered in this module. And assessment method is third test. Okay. Fabrication of PN junction is assessed through second internal test, and FET is assessed through third internal test. FET and BJT, they are the evaluation tools used for this 3 and 4 is via this evaluation tools are internal test paper. Okay. Finally, we have different tools used for activities. You know that 10 marks is reserved out of 30 marks reserved for activity. If you do PBL under electronic device course or any other relevant course, you will be getting 5 marks out of 10 marks. That gets mapped with CO4 of our course, and remaining tools we use as an assignment. As per the university norms, assignment has to be given, or quizzes has to be given, so that carries 5 marks here. So out of 10 marks, 5 marks is reserved for project based learning, and another 5 marks is reserved for the assignments here. So again, assignment will cover these 3 course outcomes. Lastly, we have an internal assessment. Via internal assessment, you will be able to attain these course outcomes like 1, 2, 3 and 4. So internal assessment is conducted for 30 marks and activities are conducted for 10 marks here. So I hope you are cleared with this course design sheet. This course design sheet will be uploaded in the Google Classroom. Still, if you have any doubt related to this course design sheet, you can ask me later as well. Okay. So that's about course design sheet. Okay. Do you have any questions, before I proceed to the today's topic? Okay. The platform is open to you. Students, if you have any questions, you can ask me at this point of time. Are you able to get it what I have covered here in the course design sheet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any doubts you have? Jeevit?
No.
Jeevit is there?
Sir, it's Jeevita. Sir, it's Jeevita.
Jeevita.
No.
Any doubts you have?
No, sir.
I hope you understand. Okay. About Kiran Kumar? Kiran Kumar is there?
Sir.
Yeah. Did you get it? What I am covered here? Course design aspects.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. What about Manasa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, I will move to the today's topic. Last class, you know that I have covered just fundamentals of the solids, and I showed you the simulation also related to the different unit cells. You remember that simple cubic unit cell and the body centered cubic unit cell and face centered cubic cell we have covered in the last class. Today's class I will be talking more about the device aspects. Let me move to the material. So electronic device course, see what I am talking today's class is relevant to the module 1. So this material has been taken from the textbook authored by Benji Streetman. You can refer to that textbook. So the content that I have shown here is from that textbook itself. Okay, let's move on to the introductory part of this module 1. So this course, electronic device course, is an introduction to semiconductor devices. See, in this course we are not going to cover any advanced devices. We cover only basic semiconductor devices, and that too for this course is designed for undergraduate electronic engineering students. Okay. And if you look at as a overview, there are 2 objectives or basic purpose of the course. The first thing is the course provides sound understanding of the existing devices. You know that from the syllabus we are covering only PN junctions, optoelectronic devices, bipolar junction transistor, only basic devices, existing devices we are going to cover here. So with that study of those electronic devices, this provides the foundation or basis for other subjects like analog circuits, digital circuits and systems. Okay. So this study of these subjects like analog circuits or digital circuits and systems will become meaningful with this subject, electronic devices. Okay. Second objective or second basic purpose of this electronic device is this provides some basic tools which students can learn from this basic the idea, and they can even extend this idea to the newly available devices such as LED, the many other the devices like LCD, lasers, and so on. Okay. These 2 basic purposes what I am showing here, it will be more important in the long run and may not be for short term. Many times when you go for an industry, you will be you should be able to deal with the various kinds of the devices, and you need to understand how exactly those devices are fabricated. So that knowledge, the foundation you will gain in the subject itself. So this course, especially electronic device course, which helps you to make you to understand the concepts of semiconductor and various terms associated with semiconductors related to a broad range of devices. We are not going to cover only one or two devices, we will be covering a wide range of devices. Next thing is going to be the problems. This subject involves both the theoretical aspects and the problems. So I suggest you to solve problems, because the reason is solving problem is a key to success in understanding the material whatever you provided in the book. So if you want to understand any concept, so definitely via the problem you can understand the concepts here. I suggest you to study, solve few problems along with worked example as well as exercise problems here. So that helps you to understand the concepts as well. Okay. So the problems I will be giving you as an homework at the end of each module, and in between I will be solving few problems in the class itself. Few exercise problems and few worked examples will be solved, in between the coverage of this module 1. So that will facilitate, the additional learning material for you, learning technique for you. Next thing is quiz. You know that the few lectures I will be giving you with quizzes. Quiz question will not include those too many questions. I will include just only one or two questions in each quiz, and probably if you answer them, this quiz will be asked randomly. Okay, so there is nothing like a specific class or specific time the quiz will be asked, and this answering this quiz will help you to get marks for the internal assessment as well. So be careful, and you have to be follow my lecture, and you may get quiz question randomly. Okay. So again, there is a specific time duration will be given to you, maybe 5 minutes to solve the 2 to 3 questions in the quiz, and that will be considered for internal assessment. The reason for conducting this quiz randomly is because to make you to take part in this online class actively. Okay. Okay. Next, coming to the system used here, units used in this course is MKS system. Probably in 10+2 you are aware of SI system. Alternative to that, we have an MKS system. This is a standard adopted in the semiconductor physics. So example is in MKS system we use a centimeter to represent the length. It's a basically convenient unit of length compared to meter or millimeter, something like that. Instead of that, we are using in MKS system centimeter. Again, I suggest you to use always the final answer when you are solving any problem, either exercise or worked example. If it is a length or any relevant parameter, try to express that in centimeter. So centimeter is the standard MKS based method. Is a convenient the unit represented the length. Another thing is electron volt. You know that electron volt measures the electron energy. Okay. So most of the textbook they use even joules to represent electron energy, but as per the MKS system, we use electron volt to represent the electron energy, to measure the electron energy. So these are the two units I have shown here. In the upcoming classes, you will see more units that belongs to MKS system that can be used for in this course. Okay. Module 1, you know that title of the module 1 just now we have seen, it's semiconductors. Now let us see, let us understand what is semiconductor. Semiconductor you might be seeing everywhere nowadays. Okay, so including your mobile, which contains the tens of the 20s of ICs. That's again made up of semiconductor. Now let us ask ourselves, what is semiconductor? So semiconductors are a group of materials. It's not just one material, it's a group of material what you see in the periodic table. Okay, so which has got electrical conductivities. Okay, intermediate means it's in between. Okay, that falls in between metals and insulators here. So this is the definition, basic definition of semiconductor here. So semiconductors are the group of materials which has got electrical conductivity or resistivity which falls between metals and insulators. We know that metals are good conductor of electricity, insulators are bad conductor of electricity, whereas semiconductors, they fall in between. We can't say that semiconductors are metals, semiconductors are insulators. At room temperature, they are semi, partially they may conduct. Okay, if the temperature increases, they may become metals or good conductors. If temperature drops, it may become insulator. That's why semiconductors are very difficult to classify as metals, or it cannot be grouped under insulators. This is the definition, basic definition here. Another important property of semiconductor is the conductivity. What I said, since it falls between the metals and insulators, this conductivity can be varied by the over a order of magnitude, where a wide range you can vary the conductivity. And the question is, how do you vary the conductivity of semiconductor? There are few techniques are there, which is temperature. Example is, if you vary the temperature of across the semiconductor, then definitely conductivity can be varied over the orders of magnitude. The second thing is optical excitation. That means via the you can impact the photons on the electrons which are residing in the atom. So definitely the outermost orbit, which we call as valence orbit, the electrons there which are loosely bounded to the nucleus, that get excites and move to the higher levels, and totally it become free. So once electrons are free, it will conduct electric current. Therefore, it becomes like a conductor. So therefore, via the optical excitation, we can increase or decrease the conductivity. Okay. So if you decrease optical excitation, optical the photons injection, definitely conductivity can be reduced. If you inject photons, conductivity can be increased. The third method, or most popular method, is via the doping, which is called as impurity content. By adding impurity content to the semiconductors, its conductivity can be increased. You know that pure semiconductors may not conduct highly or heavily because its number of electrons available in the outermost orbit is very few. Normally in semiconductors, you see that outermost orbit is partially filled, it is not completely filled. Most of the semiconductors are tetravalent. They are having 4 valence electrons in the outermost orbit. So therefore, in order to increase that electron level, we need to add an impurity content. So once you add impurity content, either the pentavalent impurity or trivalent impurity, you can make the semiconductors to conduct. Okay, you can increase the electron quantity, and therefore the electrons when they are 2 in number, so it starts conducting here. Okay, so this is how the conductivity of the semiconductors can be varied, and according to the designer's interest. Okay. So this variability of electrical properties makes a semiconductor material natural choice for electronic device investigations. That's why most of the electronic device manufacturers, they like the electrical properties of the semiconductor. So these kind of properties you don't see in any other materials apart from semiconductors. So semiconductors, if you look at as in a periodic table, so they are found in the column 4 of a periodic table. You know that the periodic table contains so many elements. Around 101 elements you can see in the entire periodic table. In that, out of 101 elements, they are clustered into the columns. So those columns, you can see that in column 4 particularly, you can see the semiconductors. The semiconductors that are found in the column 4 are called as elemental semiconductor. The reason why we call elemental semiconductor is because they are composed of single species of atoms. Okay, they got only single species of atom. That means each atom is connected with the adjacent atom. So with with its own the adjacent atom. So that kind of the arrangement is called as elemental semiconductors. Okay, so these kind of elemental semiconductors are silicon, which is formula is Si, and germanium, which we call as Ge. So this is notation which we use for indicating the germanium and silicon semiconductor. Okay, now let us proceed to the part of the periodic table. I am not going to show you here the entire periodic table, whereas I will be showing you the part of the portion of the periodic table. As you can see here in column 2, there are 2 elements we have shown here, zinc and as well as cadmium. And in column 3, you can see there is we have shown here 4 elements: boron, aluminium, gallium, and indium. Indium is iron, gallium is Ga, aluminium is Al, boron is B. Okay, so these are the column 3 elements. Column 4 elements, already we said they are semiconductors, which is carbon, silicon, and germanium. Okay, so there are totally 3 semiconductors that are found in column 4 of the periodic table. Column 5 elements are nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, and antimony. So these are the column 5 elements. Column 6 elements are sulfur, selenium, tellurium. Okay, so these are the elements that you can that can be found in column 6 of the periodic table. The reason why I showed here the portion of a periodic table is because the element that you see in column 4, they are elemental semiconductors because they are composed of single species of the atoms. You can club this carbon with nitrogen or silicon with phosphorus, and you can make compound semiconductor. Okay, this is compound semiconductor is another category of semiconductor. Okay, like elemental semiconductor, as you have seen, they are made up of single species of atoms. When you group collectively with other the columns of the periodic table, you can develop the compound semiconductors. So example is you can club even silicon with germanium, germanium with carbon. You can also make within column 4 itself you can club and you can make a compound semiconductor. Okay, you will see later on the advantages or benefits of compound semiconductor over elemental semiconductor. Here I would have shown here for your the information purpose with atomic number. This helps you to write or draw electronic configuration of each element what I have shown here. Column 2, as you have seen here, zinc, its formula is Zn, cadmium is Cd, its atomic number is 48. Similarly, column 3 elements are boron, atomic number is 5, aluminum Al 13, gallium Ga 31, indium is iron which is 49. Column 4 which is semiconductors, elemental semiconductor, carbon is C which is atomic number is 6, silicon Si atomic number is 14, germanium Ge its atomic number is 32. Lastly we have column 5 elements, we have 2 more columns of course, nitrogen N which is 7, phosphorus which is 15, arsenic is an impurity element, okay, which we use in doping, okay, so its atomic number is 33, antimony is Sb, its atomic number is 51. Lastly we have a column 6 elements, we have sulfur, selenium and tellurium, whose formula is S, Se and Te, atomic number is 16, 34 and 52 respectively. Okay, so these are the elemental semiconductor and what you have seen in the various columns of the portion of the periodic table. Now let us see another category of semiconductor called as compound semiconductor. So compound semiconductor, it can be again subdivided into binary, ternary and quaternary. The meaning of this is binary means when you club 2 elements, either it may be the column 4 and 3 or column 4 and 5, so that forms binary kind of binary compound semiconductor. Ternary means the 3 elements can be combined together. It may be from column 2, 3, 4, it can be column 4, 5, 6. You can club together and you can make the ternary compound semiconductor. And third one is quaternary kind of semiconductors. You can even club 4 elements from different columns and you can make it can be even same column also. You can make the quaternary kind of compound semiconductor. So these compound semiconductors which combines 2 or more elemental semiconductors. So this is the definition of compound semiconductor. So they are developed, synthesized under controlled conditions. Okay, compound semiconductors are not cheaper; they are expensive to make as compared to the elemental semiconductors. Elemental semiconductors are cheaper, whereas compound semiconductors are expensive. And if you look at application point of view, compound semiconductors are used in variety of applications. I will be discussing the application part in the coming coming section. Okay, so again we have different compound and elemental semiconductors. In first column you see elemental semiconductors. In second column you can see column 4. Okay, compounds like silicon carbide, silicon germanium. Same column 4 we have clubbed together, and we made here a compound semiconductor. You can club even binary compounds like column 3 and column 5 can be clubbed, and you can make variety of compound semiconductor like aluminum phosphide, aluminum arsenic, aluminum antimony, gallium nitride, gallium phosphide, gallium arsenic, gallium antimony, indium phosphide, indium arsenic, indium antimony. So variety of compound semiconductor, binary compound semiconductors you can synthesize in the laboratory. Okay. Similarly, we have binary compound semiconductor by clubbing column 2 and column 6 element of periodic table. So we can form like zinc sulfide, zinc selenium, zinc tellurium, cadmium sulfide, cadmium selenium, cadmium tellurium. So these are the variety of the binary compound semiconductors can be made by clubbing, elements of 2 and 6 of periodic table. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
doubt, sir. Sir, for forming the semiconductor material, no need 4th group elements, sir.
Pardon me, can you come again once again?
No, sir. Like silicon and carbon. If it is not there, also you can form semiconductor compound.
No, you can make even without silicon also you can make compound semiconductors. You need not you have only the elemental semiconductor like carbon or the silicon like that. Even you can make the semiconductors via say for example gallium arsenide. You can make semiconductor. It's also called a semiconductor.
But those compounds may show less semiconductive characteristics than these, no?
Correct. But if you look at the conductivity point of view, so those conduct elements, the compound semiconductor which you are making from other than silicon and germanium, definitely it will conduct. It behaves like more or less like a semiconductor, but not actual semiconductor. If you look at electrical properties of gallium arsenide, see example is gallium arsenide. If you look at individually, they are not semiconductor at all. Gallium is from different elemental semiconductor, and arsenic is different elemental conductor. It's available in periodic table. But still, combining gallium and arsenide, it exhibits semiconductor properties and used in a variety of applications.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, let's move on to the different applications now. If you look at pure germanium, GE, used in manufacturing of transistors and diodes. This is not done nowadays, because earlier days, probably in 1980s and 1990s, you might have seen transistors and diodes, which are mainly of from the germanium. Okay, that's earlier days, not now. Next is silicon. Silicon is used even nowadays also. Silicon, its formula is Si. So silicon, we use it for manufacturing of transistors. When I say transistor, it need not be BJT always. It can be even FETs, it can be BJT, it can be even UJT. There are many transistor versions available. But to manufacture all those transistors, we use silicon nowadays, not germanium. Germanium is outdated, okay, as of now. Okay, so transistors and variety of transistors can be manufactured via the silicon. And one of the most important application of silicon is in IC manufacturing. We call the silicon chips, right? The silicon chips or silicon ICs are manufactured from the silicon material. Okay, it's one of the most widely used in IC manufacturing is silicon, because of its property. Silicon has got very good property which germanium could not exhibit. Okay, so and also silicon is used in rectifiers manufacturing. Rectifiers like AC to DC converter. So such kind of the devices, circuits can be made on ICs via this silicon chip. Silicon is the reason why we use silicon is because it's freely available in nature and it is abundant in nature. Okay, so and also it exhibits very good properties. Okay, you will see in the coming class what properties silicon exhibit, which you cannot find in germanium or even other semiconductor like carbon. Okay. Compound semiconductors, so far you have seen elemental semiconductors and their applications, but if you look at the compound semiconductors, they are used in high speed applications, especially in the TV screens and the lasers. We use compound semiconductors. There we don't use elemental semiconductors. So the device which requires emission and the device which requires absorption, under such applications we use compound semiconductors. When I say emission and absorption, these are used in communication systems. Okay, in higher semester you will study different sorts of communication systems, which needs the emission means it's a transmission, absorption means it's a reception. So there in that application we use compound semiconductors. Compound semiconductor already we have discussed, like binary compound semiconductor, gallium nitride, gallium phosphide, gallium arsenide. These are the elements which are used commonly in light emitting diodes. Shortly we call this as LEDs. LEDs you may be seeing in everywhere, right? Even in traffic signals you can see, even in various instruments you can see this LEDs. Okay, and ternary compound semiconductor like aluminum, gallium arsenide. So three elements are clubbed here. That's why it's called ternary compound semiconductor. Again, these are used in semiconductor lasers. Okay, so when you club column 2 and column 4 compound semiconductors like zinc sulfide, we have shown already the table with column 2 and column 4 and other compound semiconductors. Particularly zinc sulfide is used in fluorescent materials, especially in TV screens. Not now, even again a few years back, we used to manufacture the TV screens with fluorescent materials. Okay, other materials like semiconductors like indium, the antimony, cadmium sulfide, cadmium silurium is used in light detectors. Okay, so these are the applications. Gallium arsenic and gallium indium phosphide are used in gun diode. And this is special applications. Probably you might have come across microwave frequencies in the range of 1 gigahertz to 1000 gigahertz. These are the high frequency devices. So those devices we call as microwave device. Okay, especially you might have seen microwave oven and microwave, in airports and other, the places. Okay, there, the special device like gun diode, impact diode. So all those are, diodes are used, and to manufacture these, the high frequency diodes. These are not ordinary diodes. Ordinary diode is PN junction, what you see in the laboratory. But these are, the diodes which are operated under high frequency, as I told you, between 1 gigahertz to 1000 gigahertz. Okay, so these are very dangerous. So because of high frequency, especially to manufacture these diodes like a gun diode used in microwave frequency range, we use gallium arsenide and indium phosphide materials. Okay, gallium arsenide, one important property is it's used in high speed amplifiers. You see, if you look at basic silicon, it is not good in speed. Okay, but gallium arsenide, these two are different, the materials of a periodic table. If you club these two together, that leads to very high speed application, very high speed amplifiers here, which you cannot design same amplifier via using silicon material. Okay, so also at the same time, see, gallium arsenide is not cheaper. It's costly compared to silicon. Pure silicon is cheap, whereas gallium arsenide is not economic. It is costly. Okay, so but when it comes to application, you have to have a trade-off. If you want to have a high-speed application, then you have to spend a lot of money on that. So therefore, so gallium arsenide is used in high-speed amplifiers compared to the silicon. So another important characteristics that makes different semiconductor from others like metals and insulators is energy band gap. Okay, so semiconductors have a very small energy band gap. For the germanium, you can see that energy band gap EG, what we call it's a 0.78 electron volt at room temperature 0 Kelvin. Okay, this is 27 degree Celsius. Okay, 0 Kelvin. Okay, silicon is another again semiconductor with band gap energy about 1.21 electron volt. Again, we can make an observation here. I will ask a question here. Since germanium has got 0.78 electron volt and silicon has got 1.21 electron volt, so silicon has got higher band gap compared to germanium. My question to you is now whether it's having does silicon has got advantage having larger band gap? That kind of answer in the next class. Okay, so you can see here itself the silicon has got larger band gap compared to silicon. I want to know from your side, having higher band gap energy of silicon, is it advantage or a drawback? Okay, so that's again these band gap energies are measured at 27 degrees Celsius or 0 Kelvin. The last point which I want to discuss in today's class is the electronic and optical properties of semiconductors can be strongly affected by adding impurity, which is also called as a doping, which may be added precisely. You cannot in a controlled manner you can add the impurities, and such impurities are used to vary the conductivity. Conductivity can be varied over the orders of magnitude. Okay, maybe tens of hundreds of magnitude you can vary the conductivity of semiconductor over the wide ranges here. This process of adding impurity or in a controlled addition of impurity is called as doping. So we will see that in the upcoming classes, the different sort of doping, different sorts of semiconductors, N and P type, semiconductors, and electrical properties of silicon, electronic configuration of silicon. So those things we will discuss in the upcoming classes. So with that, we have done for today's class. So in today's class, we have covered just different materials of the periodic table, especially the elemental semiconductors, compound semiconductors we have covered, and we have covered the important applications of the compound semiconductors. Okay, in variety of applications we have seen along with elemental semiconductor applications. So with that, we have done in today's class, and now the platform is open for you to discuss. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Okay. So, do you have any questions, students?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Okay.
I hope everybody has got the things what I have covered in today's class, right? Okay. So I suggest you to go
Yes,
through
sir.
the
Yes,
textbook as well, and this material what I have shown in today's class will be uploaded in Google Classroom, and the video, recorded video also will be uploaded in BMSIT EC channel, and still if you have any questions you can post me via the email also. So you have different ways to you can ask the question. Okay. So with that we have done for today, and next class we will see other electronic configurations, electronic details of semiconductors. Thank you all for attending.